I'm now joined by Michael Solomon. He is a professor of marketing from St. Joseph's University. Michael's joining us there from Philadelphia. Thank you so much for coming on to chat to us. Look, tell me, it's a pretty good, I think, announcement there by Target, especially after seeing those awful images of these people just jumping over the top of one another, trying to get their hands on consumer goods. Can we expect more stores to follow in Target's footsteps?
Yes, absolutely. I think that that's probably going to be the norm this year, at least for the larger companies that can afford to do that. Certainly, after everything we've been through for the last 2 years, everybody needs to take a breath for one day and rest up for the horrors that will start on the following day, as already mentioned.
And Professor, tell me, how much has consumerism changed since the beginning of the pandemic? What are we seeing here?
Well, it's important to emphasize that for the most part, behaviors haven't changed other than some minor ones, such as maybe the elbow bump instead of the handshake. But there are important changes that were percolating already before the pandemic started. And so what the pandemic did was essentially to throw fuel on the fire, if you will, to accelerate changes that were already happening. And these include, for example, greater acceptance of automation at retail, automated checkout and processes like that, the gravitation toward online shopping, of course, and even the increased priority on sustainability, environmental friendliness. Again, these are all major disruptive changes in retail and in society in general. And now, since 2019, we're seeing what happens when we go on fast forward with those changes.
Yeah, and with regards to, say, Target, you know, and we're also hearing about a bank in the UK really sort of trying to prioritise the workers by giving them more time off to spend with their families and pursue the things that they want to do. Do you believe that, you know, it's maybe time that Americans are letting go of this, let's call it live to work culture?
Yeah, well, certainly I believe that many major retailers here have already announced, in fact, that they'll be closed for Thanksgiving. And again, it's a sign of the times, but frankly, it's also a recognition that labor shortages are the biggest marketing story of 2021, at least in the Christmas season. And so, you know, it's hard to separate what the motives are for giving your employees the day off. But whatever the motivation, I think we're seeing a much greater awareness of the need to perhaps at least restructure our conceptions of work. We're not going to throw them away entirely, but especially as the younger generation starts to move into management ranks, and they've always had this attitude that work-life balance is probably more important than their older brothers and sisters did. I think we will see this gradual change in terms of what is normal in terms of labor practices.
And finally, Professor Solomon, I want to ask you, you know, consumerism, conscious consumerism, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Is it here to stay, or do you believe that it'll fade into obscurity?
Well, you know, I'd like to say that it's here to stay. I'm a little cynical because, as you know, the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think the key to it lasting is for companies to convince consumers that they don't necessarily have to pay much higher prices to achieve sustainability. And that is a misconception that many consumers have. And so we saw, for example, when the Great Recession started about a decade ago, we were starting to see a big mass market movement toward acceptance of sustainability. But boom, the recession hits, suddenly people are grabbing for their pocketbooks and wallets. And a lot of those concerns, at least, were tamped down. And I think we'll probably see that again this time, unless, as I say, the companies can show you that you don't have to pay more, because in fact, a lot of sustainable actions and product designs can even cost less. But that's an important mindset change that consumers need to understand.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Professor Michael Solomon, you've brought up some, some extremely good points, and let's hope some of these trends do stay on. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.